Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to Wednesday's North West Tonight. Thank you for joining us. Our top story. The Southport attacker's father put up with his son's violent and abusive attacks because he didn't want to lose him. Alphonse Ruda-Cabana was speaking publicly today for the first time since his son murdered 3 girls last year. Also tonight, the government reacts to claims that mini-marts like this one in Crewe may be part of an organised Kurdish crime network.
Hello, it's Fawlty Towers. My name is Manuel.
Basil's back as the Fawlty Towers stage show arrives in the Northwest. We'll speak to its legendary creator, John Cleese.
On opening night, I just sat there and I felt very happy. And there were so many people doing this. Real belly laughs.
And Pudsey and I are in Lancaster, where in the next 20 minutes the BBC Radio Lancashire breakfast team will be crossing the finish line for their 3-legged challenge.
Weather-wise, we'll see some patchy rain over the next few days, and it does turn a wee bit cooler as we head through the weekend. Join me for the full forecast.
The father of the Southport killer told the public inquiry into last year's attacks that he was worried his son would be taken away from him after violent outbursts at home. Alphonse Ruda-Cabana admitted that he failed to challenge his son's behaviour, which allowed him to acquire dangerous weapons. And he said at the public inquiry today that the catastrophic consequences are something for which he is desperately sorry. Phil McCann has been listening to the evidence in Liverpool, joins us now live from there. And Phil, tell us more about what the killer's father said about his son's violence at home.
Yeah, Alphonse Ruda-Cabana, Roger, said that there would be random outbursts of violence at the family's former home in Banks in Lancashire, just near to Southport, that would sometimes happen as often as twice a day, and often be in reaction to, well, somebody simply disagreeing with Axel Ruda-Cabana. He said, Alphonse Ruda-Cabana said that at one point the violence had got so bad that he'd suggested to his son that he may have to live elsewhere, and he said his son responded by pouring a bottle of cooking oil over his father's head, and he said that his son said to him in menacing terms, "It may take a week, it may be a month, maybe years, but trust me, I will kill you." He said that he and his wife were scared of their youngest son. In a statement to this inquiry, Alphonse Ruda-Cabana said any attempts to impose discipline was met with an escalation in his behaviour. "I allowed him to abuse and assault me," he said, "to damage the home. It was the only way of getting through the day." But he said he was desperately sorry for the catastrophic consequences of his failure to challenge his son's behaviour. He was also repeatedly criticised today for not directly answering a number of questions that were put to him, but he did accept that he was also worried about the prospect of his son being taken into care, but he denied that that had stopped him from contacting the authorities when things had happened. It was put to him that he should have told the authorities that the family was completely unable to cope. He said that that was something they knew.
And Phil, this morning, the killer's brother finished giving his evidence to the inquiry, and he was asked what he thought his younger sibling's motive for the attack might have been. What did he say?
Well, he was. Dion Ruda-Cabana also said that he didn't think his younger brother posed a risk outside the family home, despite an incident 2 years prior where he was caught on a bus with a knife and said he'd wanted to stab somebody. But he said that he didn't think that there was a wider risk at that point. He was asked whether he should have raised concerns that there could have been a wider risk. He said no, that there'd been no incidents outside the family home for 2 years prior to what happened last year, and that his little brother hadn't been outside the family home for 2 years prior. On the day of the attack, he said he was in a shop. He heard there'd been a stabbing and thought his brother might have been involved, but he thought that his parents might have been the victims. Of course, we know that Axel Ruda-Cabana instead targeted young girls who were dancing to Taylor Swift and the adults who were looking after them. It led to the deaths, as we know, of B.B. King, of Elsie Dot Stankham and of Alice De Silva Aguirre. As for that question of why he targeted young children, Dion Ruda-Cabana said that he thought his brother was thinking that children are society's future, and it would hit societies badly if something like this happened. The inquiry continues here tomorrow.
Thank you, Phil. Phil McCann. Now, there's been a big increase in the number of mini-marts and vape shops in our towns and cities in recent years, and now a BBC investigation has exposed a Kurdish crime network as behind over 100 of these shops, many of them in the northwest. The government told us tonight it has increased enforcement action and is determined to close down the shops, which it says create an incentive for illegal immigration. The BBC put an undercover reporter into one of those shops at Crewe in Cheshire, as Ed Thomas reports.
We've been undercover inside a Kurdish high street crime network. We've uncovered a hidden world of ghost directors, tax evasion and illegal working. This is where we started. Top Store, a high street mini-mart in Crewe. Inside, our undercover journalist, posing as an asylum seeker. He's here to meet this man, Serchi. He's Kurdish and says his asylum claim has been refused.
But
somehow, he says he owns this mini-mart and now wants to sell. £18,000 cash out of sight of authorities. A sale off the books, no documents. And how does Serchi deal with utility bills? And what about tax? And all this is driven by organised crime. The sale of counterfeit and smuggled illegal cigarettes. This is where he hides them, an untaxed stash car. As Serchi admitted, he sold vapes to children. And at the front of the mini-mart,
Serchi, BBC News.
we found the owner.
You're an asylum seeker with no right to work. Why are you running a mini-mart? You're selling illegal cigarettes from Top Store.
No, bro, I have a paper, I have everything.
You've sold vapes to children.
No, bro, no, you lie.
Serchi told us he had paperwork proving he had the right to work. So how is all this criminality possible? In Crewe, Serchi told our undercover reporter he pays someone else to put their name on official documents. A high street sham exposed. Ghost directors, people with the right to work, paid to hide the criminality. And mask the real owners, like Serchi. We visited 15 mini-marts. Most sold illegal cigarettes.
Thank you, bud. Thank you very much.
And in Blackpool, this worker, an Iraqi Kurd, told us he left an asylum seeker hotel to go full-time in the mini-mart. He said he was exhausted, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week. And how does he handle illegal working when faced with trading standards? The organised crime, illegal working, thriving on our high streets.
That was Ed Thomas reporting. Yunus Muller is here. What sort of reaction have we had from people in this part of the world to what's been exposed there?
Roger, what's happening here is in full view of the authorities. So there are questions about law enforcement. Now, the trading standards are saying basically they need more powers. The government are saying that they've taken action, 50% increase in raids over the past year alone, and that will continue to happen. Emily Spurrell, the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner, told listeners to Radio Merseyside today that it's a complex situation and it needs organisations to work together.
If there are concerns that around asylum seekers or people who are not
entitled to work, then that would then be referred on to the immigration teams and the border teams, who would then look to use whatever powers they have to go in and intervene and make those decisions. So it is incredibly complicated, but there is a lot of work that goes on with the different teams to look at how we can tackle some of that.
Interestingly, if we look at Ed Thomas's report, Cheshire Police are saying they actually raided that store recently, and they were back there again today, but store appears to have changed hands, and the suspects were nowhere to be seen.
OK. Jonas, thank you. Jonas Muller there. Now, a 3-year-old girl from Lancashire has died after she was pulled unconscious from a swimming pool in Greece. The BBC understands she was found in a pool at a hotel in the resort of Lardos in Rhodes last month. She was taken to hospital on the island, then transferred to Crete, before being brought back to a hospital in the UK, where, sadly, she died 12 days later. The BBC Radio 2 presenter Jeremy Vine has told a jury in Liverpool today that he felt scared and upset and had sleepless nights after online comments about him by Joey Barton. The former footballer from Widnes is also alleged to have crossed the line between free speech and a crime in comments about the football pundits Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. Mr Barton denies all the allegations. 500 BAE Systems workers in Lancashire went on strike today over pay, despite legal action by the company to block it. A judge will decide tomorrow whether to grant an injunction after BAE claimed that procedural errors meant that the Unite Union acted unlawfully in calling the strike. And dozens of local people gathered today for the funeral procession of a lollipop man from Bury. Keith Christie served his community on Brandlesholme Road for more than 20 years. The procession stopped at Keith's crossing point, where children, teenagers and adults who knew him were waiting to pay their respects. Let's take a look at some of the other stories now that people are reading from BBC News Online tonight. A new code of conduct is being introduced at Clitheroe Market. That follows allegations of traders shouting abuse at each other and at council workers. 2 Buxton residents have shared footage of their carefully sorted recycling all being dumped in one bin lorry. High Peak Council says that it is an isolated incident. And watch the moment that the Isle of Man TT star Michael Dunlop received his MBE from the King at Windsor Castle. Here it comes. He's won a record 33 races. You can find out more bbc.co.uk/local news or have a look on the BBC News app. If you've been watching all week, you'll know that this week we are looking at the issue of road safety and the impact that crashes can have on those involved. But it is, of course, not just limited to those who are directly involved. And I've been to meet a grandfather from Ellesmere Port who was enjoying a tranquil retirement, close to his daughter and her family, when a split second changed everything. Dave Winus built this lake. It's a reflective place where he can think about Zoe.
Very bubbly. She lit up the room when she walked in. Her colleagues would always look to see if Zoe was on shift that night, because when Zoe came in, they were going to have a good night.
Zoe, Dave's daughter, died last year, leaving Dave, who's now 76, to look after his grandsons. But Zoe didn't die in a road collision. That was her partner, Sean.
It was New Year's Eve 2.5 years ago, and he left the house just to go to the shops, crossing the road, and got knocked over then, just 100 yards from his home.
And that moment changes everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Zoe couldn't cope. A dependence on prescription medication morphed into alcohol addiction. An effervescent character, she died of multiple organ failure.
Keep myself busy. I've always kept myself busy. So,
Nikki works for the Wirral-based charity Aftermath Support. It helps people whose lives are affected by road collisions.
I think it's been really tough for Dave. He's almost had to put his own grief on hold to focus on the boys, really, which is so sad.
Dave's grandsons are now 21 and 17, young men who've lost both their parents. But Aftermath's help has been invaluable. They talk about the ripple effect of road collisions on witnesses, on other family members, and perhaps on those directly involved who are able to walk away.
It's also drivers, because nobody goes out to cause an accident. Nobody expects to be involved in an accident. So when anybody is, it's just that their whole life can, implode, really.
Government statistics show that, on average, 1,700 people die on Britain's roads every year. Put another way, that's almost 5 fatalities every day.
By the end of tonight, there could be 5 families around the UK that have lost a loved one, that will get that knock on the door. Just taking time, taking care, being a little bit more focused on what you're doing can save a life. And it might just save a life, it might just save your life as a driver.
And as Dave will tell you, one fatal incident can lead to further heartbreak.
It's been very, very difficult, obviously. You've lost almost half your family within a year or two. But the pain does diminish, but it's always there.
My thanks to Dave for speaking to me. Also to Nikki and Karen, if you need support, Aftermath Support's website, aftermathsupport.org.uk, and we'll have more in the series tomorrow night. Now, football. Manchester City take on Borussia Dortmund at the Etihad Stadium in the Champions League this evening. Last night, Liverpool beat Real Madrid 1-0 in their Champions League fixture. Alexis McAllister here scored the only goal, heading in a free kick in the second half. Trent Alexander-Arnold, who left for Madrid in the summer, was booed when he came on. His former manager, though, gave him a warmer welcome.
Only short afterwards, I gave him a hug. I don't even exactly know what I said, but probably not a lot, but every time I will meet him, I will either give him a hug or talk to him, because he's been very special to me as a player and as a human being.
In the Championship, Blackburn, whose 150th anniversary is today, won 1-0 at Bristol City last night. Yuki Ashahi scored the goal on the stroke of half-time. It's 3 straight wins for Rovers now, who are now 7 points clear of the relegation zone. Elsewhere, though, Preston could go 4th in the table tonight if they can record a 3rd straight win. They're at home to Swansea. I don't know what you think. Maybe, perhaps, the greatest British sitcom of all time? I don't know, it's one for debate, isn't it? They only made 12 episodes, and it is 50 years since Fawlty Towers appeared on our screens. But now it is back as a stage show, masterminded by John Cleese, who, of course, co-wrote and starred in the original programme. And it's arrived in Manchester, the stage show, on its UK tour this week. And John Cleese has been chatting to Phil Cunliffe.
It's 50 years since Basil Fawlty burst onto our screens. The antics of the rude, highly strung Torquay hotel owner had audiences in stitches.
You got a Mrs. Richard staying here?
And now the belly laughs are back in this stage version of the classic sitcom.
Hello, it's Fawlty Towers. My name is Manuel.
Which gets the thumbs up from the man who made it all happen in the first place.
On opening night, I just sat there and I felt very happy. There were so many people. I was in the little box and they were down in the stalls, and there were so many people doing this. Real belly laugh.
Basil doesn't bet anymore, Major.
That particular avenue of pleasure has been closed off.
The thing about farces, and nobody says this, it's much better in a theatre than it is on television, because you can see everything happening at the same time.
If I find out the money on that horse was yours, you know what I'll do, Basil.
What do you think it is that makes it so much better than so many other sitcoms?
We spent 6 weeks writing it. I mean, you may not have any ideas at all on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It may be a completely fallow period, but then in the long run, you will get lots and lots of ideas if you do it for long enough. And it's full of so many things that people don't see them the first time, yeah.
Everything all right? Bit of a bump. Just smoothing it out.
And of course, we've got to mention Prunella Scales, who played Sybil, the nagging housewife, sadly left us recently. What did she add to that role, do you think?
Connie and I suddenly thought, I wonder if she's right for the role. And then on the second day after the read-through, he said, she's perfect for the role. I don't know what happened. And you know, she and Connie and Manuel and the Major, they're so good. You can watch them sometimes when they're not the centre of the scene, when they're peripheral to the scene, and they're still acting perfectly.
You've got the play, and you've got a new book out that's the perfect accompaniment, really, isn't it? In that you get into the stories behind the making of the TV series.
Well, I just thought people liked the show very much. They'd like to know how it happened. So there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a little bit of ordinary chat and explanation, and all this I've written because there's a lot of young people who are interested in comedy and might go into it. And I think it's useful like that, and it's also very nostalgic for people who know the shows.
But it became this huge thing, and it's so popular, isn't it?
But not immediately.
No.
It took some time to catch on.
When I pay for a view, I expect something more interesting than that.
But that is Torquay, madam.
But it's not good enough.
Well, may I ask what you were expecting to see out of a Torquay hotel bedroom window? Sydney Opera House, perhaps? The Hanging Gardens of Babylon?
The Daily Mirror, after the first episode, Long John Short on Jokes. And of course, the guy who worked in the comedy department and wrote assessments of scripts, he said this is a collection of cliched characters and stereotypical situations, and I cannot see it being anything other than a disaster.
This is your beautiful vase, Mrs. Richards.
Fonzie, you did give me that money. You won it on that horse.
Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight.
Looks very funny to look back, isn't it? Fawlty Towers, the stage show, is on at the Manchester Opera House until Saturday. Next week it moves to the Liverpool Empire. It then goes out of the region and comes back to the North West in Blackpool in April. Now, the 1,000 Miles Challenge for BBC Children in Need has been done. The region's BBC local radio presenters have been doing their bit, along with colleagues around the country, walking three-legged to help Pudsey. Kay and I joined the team from BBC Radio Manchester a little earlier as they made their way around Oldham. I'm not sure how much we helped. BBC Radio Merseyside's team finished a little while ago at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium, and Julia Bold is there with some of their team tonight. Julia.
Yes, we are here at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium. We have got cheerleaders, the lot. Yeah, BBC Radio Merseyside's team, Paul Soles and Phil Munns, have completed their part of the 1,000 Mile Challenge. Phil, you're here. You were three-legged. You've been doing laps all day around the pitch. Yeah. How are you feeling?
Absolutely exhausted and shattered. I underestimated that massively. That was hard work, that. But I mean, what an incredible way to raise money for children in need. We've had so many supporters over the last couple of days, both walking and here cheering us on as well. It's been absolutely amazing.
Well, you've had the LJMU Jets cheering you on, but also Everton legend Alan Stobbs has been here as well. We know that Children in Need supports so many charities right across Merseyside, including Everton in the Community, the charity for the club, and that's what's important.
Yeah, it's an amazing cause, and I think, you know, we've got to thank Everton today for allowing Phil to spend his time and hard work to raise money for such an amazing charity. You know, the amount of people that are going to benefit from Children in Need is going to be unbelievable.
It's fantastic. And Mark Melia represents one of those charities as well. You were walking with Phil, and what charity is that?
So I'm here, the honour to support Caring Matters Now, which is a charity that supports people with the rare genetic skin condition, congenital melanocytic nevus. And Children in Need is absolutely massive for our charity. They make a significant contribution every year, which allows the charity to run with its operational costs, which means we can put more money into the research and supporting the families that we look after.
Thank you for joining the challenge today. Sophia, this is your dad. He helped out. How do you feel?
I'm very proud of him.
Really proud of him, definitely. Well, the team at BBC Radio Lancashire are also completing their part of the 1,000 Mile Challenge. Let's go to Annie Knowlson, who's in Lancaster.
Yes, we're here at the Ashton Memorial in Lancaster, which has been lit up a beautiful Pudsey Bear yellow for the BBC Radio Lancashire breakfast team, who are about to cross the finish line of their three-legged challenge. Here they are! Pudsey. I'm just going to come across here. Graham, it's been such a busy couple of days for you.
It has. It's been brilliant. We are very lucky with our breakfast show. The listeners to Radio Lancashire are so kind and generous. They are the stars of our breakfast show, and they have come out and they've supported us. We went down Leanne's childhood memory lane. We went from Padiham to Burnley. You made me wear a Burnley kit, didn't you?
Yes.
Which is horrible. And today it was my childhood from Morecambe here to Lancaster. The Ashton Memorial lit up yellow for children in need. Have I mentioned I'm a Freeman?
All day long. In fact, he's not stopped. I'm sick of hearing about it.
But this is brilliant. The people of Lancashire are so generous. The difference that Children in Need makes in Lancashire is massive, supporting currently 33 projects to the tune of over £200 million, and at the moment they support over 8,000 children and young people.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Graham. And now back to you, Roger. I think they need a good night's sleep.
Well done, Annie. Thank you very much. Yeah, Graham is a Blackburn Rovers supporter, in case you couldn't guess. It's still not too late to show your support and donate to the team. Just head to the Children in Need page. There it is, bbc.co.uk/walk. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Here's Paul Mooney.
Good evening. As we head through the next few days, things stay pretty changeable. There will be some patchy rain at times. It shouldn't be too heavy, and we will see some gaps in the cloud. As we head through this evening, it's bonfire night. We've still got low pressure out to the west, so that's keeping things fairly changeable. The cloud thick enough for some patchy rain as we head through the evening. Shouldn't be too heavy. It should be very intermittent. Many places will stay dry through the evening. And overnight, any patchy rain should tend to clear away with clear spells and a southerly breeze. So temperatures holding up in double figures for most of us as we head through the night. Into tomorrow, and again there'll be varying amounts of cloud. It will be thick enough for the odd shower here and there, but a fair amount of dry weather, a few bright spells breaking through from time to time before this area of heavier showers starts to work its way in across the Irish Sea later in the day. Very mild again though, in that southerly breeze. We're looking at highs around 17 Celsius tomorrow afternoon. That's up to 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And then as we head through the tail end of the week, well, Friday, again, a mixture of broken clouds and bright spells. The cloud thick enough for 1 or 2 showers, especially early in the day and again later on in the afternoon. We'll keep the mild temperatures for Friday, still making about 16 Celsius in that southerly breeze. Things do start to change a little bit as we head through the weekend. The temperatures start to cool down a bit, 12 or 13 by day, single figures by night.
You got a glimpse of Kay doing her bit for Children in Need with me a little bit earlier. She'll be back here with the weather tomorrow when she's had a lie down to recover. That's it. Thank you, as always, for watching. Good night.